Hello, hello. Right. I think we're live. Are we live? Can somebody give me a indication in the comments if we're live? And I actually need to then go to Facebook on my phone because I am not smart enough to figure out how to check the comments on the live stream through my laptop. Yes, right. Can you give me a wee hashtag live or a wee hashtag replay? Obviously live if you're watching just now, and replay if you're not watching at 1 minute to 5. And we will get cracking, I think. Now, let me see if I can get this link. Right, so with all these live trainings that we're doing, I am posting the link to the document. So if you do want to keep a hold of it, then you can absolutely do that. And I obviously need to make sure that it is viewable to you all. So change anyone with the link can view. Done. Right, my lovelies. So today is all about sabotage. So sabotage is a behavior that we see really commonly in our client group, and it can take so many forms. It can be tagged to emotional eating, it can be tagged to binge eating, it could be tagged to you know, not doing anything. So yes, we're going to talk about that tonight. Now, the training comes in 2 parts. We've got sabotage, which we're going to talk about self-sabotage, and we have sabotage from others, which is also really common. Now, I'm only going to cover sabotage from others if we have enough time. If not, the notes for sabotage from others are fairly comprehensive and make a little bit of sense. So that should be enough to get you thinking about it. But if that is an issue that you want support with, then, you know, obviously don't hesitate to get in touch and we'll see what we can do to help you. So sabotage tends to come from low self-esteem, which is very bizarre because it's obviously it's a behavior that is just going to make low self-esteem even worse. And it can come from, you know, not believing that you can succeed. And very typically, you know, we're working with women that have maybe tried other things in the past and failed. So there is a pattern there of not succeeding. So they have this blocker that goes, well, I'm not going to succeed anyway, so why even try? We also do see sabotage in people who actually are scared to succeed. So this again can be people that's so ingrained that they can't do it. I can't do this. I'm going to be this way forever. And then maybe do see a little bit of progression. They're like, oh shit, this means my life is going to change, and they can put a behavior onto that. Often people feel that they don't deserve it. They don't deserve, you know, self-confidence, or they don't deserve feeling happy, they don't deserve to be lean, they don't deserve to have health. You know, it does happen. And it can also be a way of control, of self-control, and it's not an eating disorder as such when I'm talking about sabotage here, but when it comes to control, it is a psychological issue. Okay, so it's just something to consider. So it comes in many forms. A lot of you may see sabotage in yourself or in others as binge eating, emotional eating. It can be starving yourself. It can be over-exercising. It can be under-exercising. There could be loads of different ways that it manifests itself in somebody, and every individual is different. So actually on that, this is generalized. Okay, so and is based on general population as well. I need to caveat that every time. So how does it manifest itself? So procrastination, overthinking, worrying, and you know, this procrastination and lack of confidence in making decisions is a real challenge that I have when talking with women initially, because they're so used to, you know, maybe getting a certain way down their journey, and then sabotage comes in, and now they get to a place where overthinking everything. Can I do it? Can't I do it? I'm scared because I've failed. Oh, I need to check. Is it the right time? No, it's not the right time. I've got so much going on. And actually tell themselves stories on how, why they can't do something, rather than, you know, being an action taker and actually finding success quicker. But like, it is really, really hard. And you've come from that background of sabotaging behaviors. Okay, so procrastination, worrying, confidence in own decision making is a big one as well. Anger, getting really angry with yourself, which then is a heightened emotion, which then can actually make sabotaging behavior worse. Guilt, doing it, whatever it is, and then you've got the guilt trip. I'm such a failure, can't believe I did this, beating yourself up. Negative self-talk, self-explanatory, you know, the things that you tell yourself. And feeling worthless, which is kind of linked into there. So one thing I will ask you ladies, as we're going through, can you ask me some questions as well? Or I'll just check in that it's making sense. So I've got some people on already. Hi. Lovely to have you all here. Right, so sabotage, blah, 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 sabotage. Everybody hates it. So there's I've put a wee 5-point step-by-step process on not curing it, because it's a journey, it's a process, and with everything is ingrained. And obviously we're working with women here late 30s, 39, 38, 39, right through in their 50s. And these types of behaviors are learned behaviors. You've practiced them. They may actually have become part and parcel of your makeup, and that's just how you operate, which comes back to identity. Now, for those of you that have followed me, my page, or been clients, you'll know how big identity is when it comes to changing our bodies and changing our lives. So this 5-step process, it's not cure, but it's a process to get worked on. The same as everything else, it's repeated behavior. Small things done over a period of time get big results. It's fundamental to how we coach our women. So the first step really is to recognize that the behavior is happening. So when I put out the post of who wants to come to this training, it's about sabotage, with lots of people, yes, I do this. So you've actually recognized already. So step one's a bit of a squish. So have a think about, you know, how does that behavior come to you? So is it hunger? You know, some people are like, oh my God, I just couldn't help myself. I was so hungry. It could be other people. It could be, you know, there's a worksheet that we use from time to time of, you know, when this sabotage attack almost happens. There's a worksheet you can fill out going, what was happening immediately before, what happened throughout the course of the day, what happened yesterday. And, you know, we can typically see triggers, common triggers. And, you know, one of them is, that's quite common, is having a conversation with somebody that you care about, you know, mother, sister, who have maybe made a negative comment, probably not meant, just slipped off the tongue. It could be, you know, getting dismissed from your partner or something. It could be somebody else has done something to you. It could be your boss has ignored an email or ignored a presentation that you did and it was really good. And it also could be boredom. So start thinking about, you know, how it typically comes about, and start challenging yourself a little bit. And we'll come to that in a little minute. So recognizing the behaviors and recognizing what triggers come to you. So you might not realize it just now, but it's worthwhile sitting, taking a notepad and pen, and start thinking about some recent examples and what was going on either before it, during it, the day before, and see what you come up with. So that's the first major step. The second one is manage the emotions. So don't ignore it. You know, getting angry with yourself, getting frustrated, the negative self-talk, you know, don't just hope that it's going to go away. Actually deal with it. So again, this is where it's worthwhile taking a note of the emotions and the feelings and everything that comes to you. And it's typically going to be things like guilt, calling yourself names, calling yourself a failure, that you can't stick to anything, and actually just, you know, get them all down on paper as well. Because what you're going to then use is those words and what you're telling yourself to have a look at what you believe is true and what is actually true. So looking at the emotions, like emotions are emotions, they are judgment calls, they're not necessarily logical. So where you say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of examples. So, you know, oh, you're such a failure, you can't stick to anything. You've got that evil monkey in the shoulder. And if anybody's read the chimp paradox, you'll know what I'm talking about. You've got the chimp, the highly emotive chimp. You don't have the logical computer saying, well, actually, are you a failure because you've done X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3? No, you're not. So start looking at, you know, emotions. Is that true? Or is that just something you're telling yourself and you're believing it's true because it's been a learned behavior? So then once you've identified all of the things that you believe to be true, and then thinking about, well, actually, is that true? If I were to take the emotion out of this and look at it pure logically, would that be true? And then once you've done that, you know, you can start looking at all of those triggers and the emotional response that it brings, and actually start looking at it at a logical point of view. So going back to the triggers, you know, boredom. Are you really bored? Chances are you have a shit ton of things that you could be doing differently. Okay, so, oh, I'm an emotional eater, I eat when I'm bored. So if you are female, over the age of 40, then I pretty much guarantee you've got plenty to be getting on with somewhere in your house, or someone in your family, or something. There is, it's very unlikely that anybody in this group has got literally nothing that they could be doing differently than eating. Okay, so start looking at, am I really bored, or is that just something that I am telling myself to give myself permission to get up off the sofa and open the fridge? Okay. Hunger. I was really starving, so I needed to go and eat 5 packets of kettle chips and a Kit Kat. Okay, that's emotional hunger? That's probably not real hunger, because we live in the developed world. Chances are you're not truly starving. Okay, now this is another comment within our training group. Hunger is not an emergency. Okay, so there's a couple of things that you can do is, A, not allow yourself to get to that starving place in the first place by not eating. If you're eating 3 solid meals a day, you should not be hungry. Okay, changing that I can't do this, I don't deserve this emotion needs to think about, what is it that you're actually trying to achieve, and thinking about the goals that you have in place. How important actually are they to you? So if, you know, I've used an example before about, you know, I want to get into my skinny jeans, and that's the only reason why you want to lose body fat, then that's not that compelling a reason. But if it is because you want to lose some weight so that you can go and put on your power suit and go for a promotion to get a new job, then that is a far more compelling reason, you know, getting your confidence back, getting self-esteem back. Okay, so you can work on changing emotions back into logic. Okay, the next step is that it should be a circle, but I really didn't have time to start doing art. Not art, it's not even called word art anymore, is it? Anyway, so looking at how do you develop these positive behaviors longer term, so that, you know, this cycle is self-fulfilling. It keeps going round and round and round and round and round and round, and it's not just one and done. It can't ever be one and done. It's a, if you think it's maybe taking you 20 years to get to this place, it's not going to take a couple of weeks to get out of it and go somewhere new. So start looking at, you know, what do I do differently? So when I recognize the boredom, do you have a plan in place of what you can go and do? Knitting, sewing, crafts, exercise, ironing, cleaning the banister, taking the dog a walk. You know, there are 101 gazillion things to do to stop you getting bored. You know, Sudoku, a word search, colouring in. It's one of my favourites, colouring in. I'm awful at it. Looking at the triggers of, is it another person that is causing these triggers? You know, limit contact or get a strategy in place so that when something is said or an action is taken, that you know how to deal with that. It could be a case of, oh, I'm really sorry, I've got to go right now, or I really didn't appreciate that comment, it made me feel blah. And start dealing with the actual root of the issue rather than just relying on your coping mechanism of overeating or choosing the wrong foods or taking in too much alcohol. Right, so think about the person that you want to be. So if you've spent several years in a sabotage kind of mindset, then do you always want to be that way? And if you do, happy days, just keep doing what you're doing. But if you don't, then putting some strategies in place to deal with those triggers are really going to help you move forward. Okay, does that make sense? Can you give me some kind of comment? So yes, Gaina, you're absolutely right. And the drinking one is a really big thing because often hunger, our body tells us we're hungry when in actual fact we're dehydrated. So if you ever get to that place, oh, I'm really hungry, and you've got brain fog, and oh, you think you need a sugar hit, chances are you're dehydrated, because even I think it's like 1% of dehydration can actually impact your mental and physical performance by up to 25%. It's something really big. So, you know, having a drink of water is a really good thing to do. Or in the evening, like having a chamomile tea, that typically can be a time of the day where, you know, the sabotaging type behavior is really prevalent. So yeah, a wee cup of chamomile tea to rehydrate a little bit and to get some good thinking vibes going on. Okay, so some hints and tips on what we can do. So breaking the cycle, identifying the patterns. You might be thinking about this going, there's not actually, I can't think of any triggers, which there definitely will be a trigger somewhere. The trigger, it could actually be habitual. It could actually be that you have got into this pattern, that this is how you live your life. And that's where the cycle needs to be broken somehow. And it's not about trying to stop it through willpower alone, but start thinking about what new, more beneficial patterns can you put in place. So if you know that you have got a habit of you know, being really good for 3 days, and then, oh my God, I have to go and eat all the food or drink all the drink, that's a habit in itself. So start looking at, okay, in 3 days time, I'm going to make sure that there is no alcohol here, there is no crisps, and I'm going to make sure that there is some other things, you know, there's a good movie, or there's I've got my bath salts, or something that you can then change that path that goes 3 days in, must have wine, must have crisps. You know, start thinking about positive things that you can do differently. The other thing is, again, back to goals. Are your goals big enough? Is the desire there? Is it scary to get to that place where you're going to be? If they're not big enough, then of course it's going to be easier to take the wrong actions. The other big one as well, monitor your self-talk. So what are you saying? What are the words? Write them down, and you will look at them in a more sane place and go, what am I doing here? I am not this person. I am this person, the person that I want to be. I'm this person. And also think about the language that you're using externally as well. So if you've got kids in the house, are you calling yourself a fatty? Are you saying, oh, mommy's got a really big bum? Or are you saying, mommy really needs to lose weight, mommy's on a diet, right? Be very, very mindful of the language. If you think, we talked about this in another live, but if you think about the language that your mum or sisters or aunties or grannies used around you about losing weight, and how much that has stayed with you, and how much that could have potentially have impacted the person you are today. Let's not repeat the cycle, you know, so be very careful about that language. Also, a really good tip that I have used a lot and I have had used on me in various coaching circumstances, not just about nutrition and health, but as, you know, what would you, if this was your best friend or your partner or somebody that you really cared about, what would you say to them? What would you, if they approached you and said, I just can't help myself, da, 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 what would you talk to them about? You know, you wouldn't be calling them, oh, get a grip, you failure, da, 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 da. So don't talk to yourself like that. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. And, you know, once something is done, it's done. You cannot change it. You can change the future. You can control every single step that you take in the future, but what's done is done. So move on quickly. You know, just move on quickly. Look at the overall, look at the process in your head, okay? So, you know, it's coming up to Friday night, and you know normally that this is your danger time for the wine and the crisps and the, I've done so well, I really deserve this. Give yourself a bit of a process map and going, right, if I do my normal and come in and have the wine and the crisps, and what happens then? I feel disgusted with myself, I have no energy, I'm hungover tomorrow, I don't lose my 2 pounds that I like to lose, I feel bloated, da, 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 da. So you've got a if this, then that, and then flip it on its head. But if I do something different, could be if I come in and go for a bath instead of having the wine, if I come in and have a chocolate yogurt or something instead of like 20 profiteroles, then what happens then? I feel good about myself. I get up in the morning feeling fresh. You know, so give yourself a bit of a process map. If this, then that, or but this, then that, and see what the positive outcomes are of doing something different. And you'll know yourself how proud you feel of yourself when you do something beneficial, when you do something that is in alignment with your goals. You do get that kind of, I can do this. And then we can start thinking about, well, if I can do this, then I can do this. And then I can keep doing this, you know, and it gets to you to a place where that whole self-esteem bit up here starts slowly coming back. So that's a really good one to do as well. I'm just going to check if there's any comments. Do we have any questions as we're going? Oh God, that's me talking. We don't want to have the, it's a bit Inception, isn't it? Okay. So they're the best tips there. Now we've got kind of 9 minutes, so I'm just going to rattle through the sabotage from others. So a lot of people do experience sabotage from loved ones and, you know, partners, work colleagues, mums, sisters, friends. And it is horrible when it happens, and it's horrible to hear it happening to people. So just some examples of how this can, how it can come into play. So, you know, your partner might think that if you're trying to have self-improvement physically or emotionally or mentally, then it means that you don't love them anymore, or it means that, you know, you're trying to attract someone else. And, you know, you might come up against blockers. Now, I hear this a lot when I'm talking to women about, you know, can we help them move forward? And I'm saying, you know, is your partner supportive of you wanting to make changes and change your life and have more confidence and feel sexier? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but sometimes, like, if I've been trying to lose weight, he'll come in with a Domino's and the beers and whatnot, and then he'll take a huff because I'm not doing it, or I'll just do it to keep the peace, right? So that is a form of sabotage. Like, if you are being open with your partner and saying, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and they go, yeah, I'll definitely help you, and then they do something to contradict it, it is an element of self-sabotage. So just be very, very mindful, and, you know, you can explain how it makes you feel. So, like, men can be quite primal creatures. It all comes down to they're going to fancy someone else and they're going to go shagging, right? You know, it kind of always come down to that. So it's a little element of control there. When it comes to people in the workplace, and this was huge when I worked in corporate, absolutely huge. So like, it was a 50-50 split of women, and like at any given time, most of the women were on some kind of health kick or weight loss plan or something. And everybody seemed to be a little bit competitive with each other. So, you know, if you're doing something that someone else wants and they're not doing it, or they're not getting the results that you're getting, then there will be jealousy. And this comes into friendship group as well. And it's fine. It is fine. It is normal. It is natural. But, you know, people are noticing you. You're losing weight. You're gaining confidence. You're putting yourself out there. You're leading your team better. You're challenging leaders, all the rest of it. So, you know, you're going to be thought of higher than somebody that's not making positive changes in their life, because somebody that's making positive changes, showing that they're an action taker, it's shown that they can think outside the box. Sorry, that's a proper wanky term. But they're showing that they have a different attitude from somebody that is trying and failing all the time. All right. So, you know, there's jealousy, and they'll be the ones that comes in with the donuts and the snack. Oh, go on, just have a celebration. Go on. You know, you want to waving it under your nose. So yeah, it's just be mindful of that. So, you know, thinking about some of the comments that you might hear. I've put some examples here. So, you don't love me anymore because you don't want to eat the pizza, or you don't want to come out for dinner. People saying, oh, you're losing far too much weight, or you look awful, when in actual fact you have been feeling amazing and really proud of yourself, and then somebody just comes along and kicks you in the face with telling you that you look crap. And typically this is quite a woman thing to do. So again, you need to very much look closely at it and go, do I look rubbish? Do I? Or is that just somebody that is being a little bit jealous and trying to take away my glory here? You're no fun anymore is a big one, especially if you're cutting down on alcohol. And for a lot of us in our 40s, alcohol is a huge challenge, because we've come through the whole, I emailed somebody earlier about this, the ladette culture, and, you know, drinking was cool and keeping up with the boys was cool. And, you know, we get into all these different scenarios when we're drunk and whatnot, and it's all fun, and comments like, no fun story started with when I had a salad. But, you know, when you're trying to cut back and your partner or your friends are like, oh, you're no fun anymore, it's like, that's a whole part of your identity just being challenged. Okay, so it's really, really difficult. So that's the whole, what am I trying to achieve? How important is it to me? Can I still do this? I can still be fun. I know you're a fun person, etc. So yes, all of these things happen. Why it happens: jealousy, facing up to their own insecurities, anxious about their own health, you know, all of these things. Sexual anxiety is quite a big one as well, especially for the men folk. So, you know, I've put some comments in here, some recommended responses, no, it's not really, but some ideas of things that you can say to people that isn't challenging them back necessarily, but, you know, you're asking for help, you're seeking support, and acknowledging that, you know, if you're not healthy just now, if you are heavily overweight or even just a little bit overweight, and there's a scary picture that I've seen that I am going to put in the group over the next couple of weeks. But, you know, acknowledging the fact that you're not healthy, that you're not happy, and you do want to change, but you do need support, you do need help. So there's an example there, which I'm sure you can read just now. If it is your partner, you know, acknowledging the fact that you still love them and that you've been together, and you're not going to suddenly just drop 2 dress sizes and run off into the sunset with a hunk. Like, it's not going to happen. Chances are your partner is your best pal, or you are very close to, and if not, then there's something else going on. But you do need their help, and you do need their understanding. You do need them to be on board. And a simple way of doing that is, you know, if they are going to continue doing what they're doing, do they have your best interests at heart? Do they actually care what else is going on? Because if that's more than just simple, oh, I'm a bit scared. That's more of a control thing. If they're still doing the actions that you've asked them not to do, and they're not supporting you, then, you know, it's worth having a conversation about that. Asking people for help. Like, people love to be asked for help. Like, genuinely, people really love it. So if you are struggling with someone in the workplace, or you're struggling with somebody in your family, you know, I really need your support to help me do this. How do you think you can help me more than serving me up bread and butter pudding, Helen Maxwell? Sorry, I saw that you were on, Helen. So, and this is a good one for, there's a couple of good tips here. So if you're out and people are, forcing you, just have a drink, just have a drink, just have a drink, don't ever tell somebody you're on a diet, right? Because that gives people carte blanche to just start flinging crisps at you, and oh, you don't need to be on a diet. Oh, that's no fun. Or one more won't hurt. Blah 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 blah. You'll say you're looking after your health. You're worried about your cholesterol. You're worried about your organs. You're worried about. Well, there's so many things. There's somebody in our group just now that says that they've got food intolerances because it just people can't argue with that. That people love a chance. They want to be the one to break you. They want to be the one that says, "Oh, she wasn't a diet, but I managed to get off it," without even realizing the impacts that it can have on someone. Or if you've got somebody coming in who's a bit of a feeder in the office, and there are many of them, just saying that looks really nice. I'm not hungry just now. I'll get one later. That's changing your identity rather than going, oh, I really shouldn't, I'm on a diet, and then you're giving people permission to talk you into stuff. So you can just say, look, maybe later when I'm hungry. People can't make you hungry by words, so yeah, give it a wee try. That's quite a good one to use if people bring in home baking, because home baking is amazing, absolutely. But that's part of the growth process for you as well, as going, and are you absolutely ravenous? No, well, you don't need to eat just now, you can have it later. And later, if you want it later, you have it later. But that delayed gratification is one of the tools that the most successful people in the world use, not just for food, but for all forms of, like, you get an immediate hit, dopamine hit from loads of things like social media, buying stuff. If you can delay that and delay that dopamine hit, it actually makes you a stronger, more successful person. True story, loads of studies. Right, that's me out. I got through both. That's wow, love it. Fabulous. Okay, do we have any questions that I can answer right here and now? I'm going to take myself off share. There we go. Hi. Got new glasses. I ordered them online and they're squint. So sorry, I look a little bit doted. Right, no questions here. Water. There you go, Gainer. I think I've answered that about the sabotaging. Gainer. Well, there, you've got an evil sabotage auntie. Feeders in the office. I'm a family journey. Cool. Right, my darlings. I hope that all made sense. If you do have any questions, get them in the chat below. If you do need more information or you've got questions that of a more personal nature, then drop me a message. I'll pick them up tomorrow. And keep the documentation. All the video recording trainings are saved in the units. So there's going to be loads more coming up. So if you've got any ideas, drop me a note. I've got a wee list just now that I'm going to work through. So that's it from me. I hope you got something from it. Let me know your biggest takeaway in the comments, and I shall be speaking with you real soon. I think now I need to try and get myself off this.